Hello my fine chaps, it's me, the Quaker, also known as Camotes, and today I'm going to World War I, then called the Great War. Now you may be thinking that, because I lived in the United States, and the colonies that predate it, for the past few centuries, and the United States did not join the Great War until towards the end in 1917, that I would not be around for most of it. However, I happened to be in vacation in Sarajevo, Bosnia, which was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in those days. On June 28, 1914, meaning I was able to witness the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and the war that ensued because of it. Why would anyone go on vacation in the Balkans during talks of a nearby empire annexing part of it? Who the fuck knows? It's a Speakonia video, so don't question it. Anyway, in those days most of the Barney bunch was still not yet born, exception being Barney the quadruple testicle dildosaur who had just immigrated to the United States at the time. Anyway, to get to the Great War I will somehow end up back in time during my vacation in Sarajevo, Bosnia, and this time, instead of not getting involved, I will decide to have a grand time. When I get to Sarajevo, it will be a moment before the assassination, and I will see Gavrilo Princip pissed off the bomb meant to blow up Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife failed, so he will pull out a semi-automatic pistol and shoot the two of them in cold blood. Seeing Duchess Sophie shot will turn me on greatly, as it's a woman, but seeing that sexy bastard Ferdinand with a glorious sexy mustache get shot will piss me off. So I will take out my anger on Gavrilo Princip by fucking him right in the middle of the street like in all honesty though, he does have an awesome mustache bag. That was grand. Since the crowd will be focusing on the Archduke and Duchess, they will have not saw me rape Gavrilo Princip, so I will just walk off. Not too much later, Austria-Hungary will send an ultimatum to Serbia, since they think the Serbian government colluded with the assassins. Serbia will tell them to fuck off, so Austria-Hungary will declare war on Serbia. Pretty soon Russia will declare war on Austria-Hungary, since it vowed to defend Serbia, and after that the Germans will declare on Russia, since they are allied with Austria-Hungary, and told them they would back whatever actions Austria-Hungary took. After that France will declare war on Germany, since France and Russia have an alliance, then the Germans would invade Belgium, in order to get to Paris, so the UK would declare war on the Germans, since they guaranteed Belgian independence. Also during this whole time Japan, which was going full imperial mode at the time, would side with the Triple Entente, so it could annex German colonies, but nobody really cares about them. And the Ottoman Empire would side with the Central Powers, because fuck the Russians and British. Anyway, with that history lesson out of the way, I can proceed to go to the Great War. The first place I will decide to go is the Balkans Theater. Like a bunch of fucking retards, the Austro-Hungarians will fail to invade Serbia, so I will decide to go see what's going on in Austria-Hungary. I will see some troops, and I will get extremely horny at seeing the military uniforms, since I have a military uniform fetish, and I will fuck the group of soldiers like then the soldiers will yell for help. However, because Austria-Hungary is a diverse empire, a lot of the military speaks different languages, so the other troops won't understand what they are yelling about and just assume it's a Serbian offensive. Soon enough a whole bunch of Austro-Hungarian soldiers will come and try to kill me, but because I'm homosexual, the bullets will deflect off me, so they will come at me with bayonets, so I will whip out my own bayonet like this is how warfare should really be done. Not by shooting or stabbing, but by taking the enemy soldier's anal virginity, which I guess you could say counts as stabbing, but Drew Pickles the Duck is pretty sure that slang term was not invented in 1914. In case you were curious, my cock is still a normal one and is not made out of wood yet. A bag that was grand. Pretty soon a Serbian offensive will show up, and assume since I just knocked out a ton of Austro-Hungarian troops, that I'm on their side, so they will let their guards down. And I will take this opportunity to steal their anal virginity like I called the Austro-Hungarians retards for failing to invade Serbia. But Serbia is even more retarded, since Archduke Franz Ferdinand had intended to give more autonomy to the states within the empire, making it more like a federation instead of an empire. You basically shot yourself in the foot and shot the rest of the world while you were at it. I wonder if a United States of Austria would be as dysfunctional as Yugoslavia. I think it's time to finish up the Balkans campaign like. Some Bulgarians showed up to kill the Serbians, so I will also fuck them like a bag. That was grand. After that I will decide to go to Gallipoli, and I will see the Brits and their dominions duking it out with the Turks. Seeing as Australia is one of the British dominions, which by extension means the Ketchum clan would be there, I will side with them. Unfortunately, once reaching the trenches, I will remember the Ketchum clan hasn't been formed yet, and it will be a bunch of straight Aussies with no interest in feet. So I will proceed to get extremely pissed off and piss and shit all over the trenches. The British and Aussie troops will get disgusted and tell me to fuck off. So I will just fuck them like. When was the Ketchum clan formed anyway? I just know Delia and Odd and Stu are not born yet. The British completely fucked over the Middle East once they destroyed the Ottoman Empire. Oops, let's try to keep political comments to a minimum. Bag. That was grand. Pretty soon an Ottoman offensive will occur, and a whole bunch of Turks will charge the Entente trenches. Seeing as I have raped and knocked out all of the British and their allies, they will not be opposed. When they reach me, they will say, "Who the fuck are you? And how did you single-handedly defeat the British forces?" I will say, "Hello, my name is the Quaker, and I just fucked all of the Brits and their friends up the ass." The Ottoman forces will get a pissed off look, as homosexuality is a sin in Islam. Then go to kill me, and I will just fuck all of them like. The Turks are basically just swarthy white guys in a Middle East and get up. Actually, the Sultan wanted to stay out of the war, but he was a figurehead by this point and the politicians joined the war anyway. You were worried the Russian Empire would turn Istanbul back into Constantinople, when you should have been worrying about my massive cock up your ass. After all, doesn't a homosexual Quaker traveling to the Middle East in the middle of a war and single-handedly raping an entire army sound more realistic than an empire's military conquering something? Bag. That was grand. After that I will travel to the Eastern Front and see the Germans and Russians killing each other. I will head to the German trenches and start fucking them all like. The Germans are now shooting at me and the bullets are going up my ass like. Bag. That was grand. You may be thinking that the German scene is short, which is true, but I will be encountering them later in the video. So you will have to wait a little longer if you want to see some crowd on Quaker action. Anyway, I will charge at the Russians, and they will also try to shoot me, which will of course fail, and I will fuck them like. Why do the Russians always make awesome music? Russia should have just let the Austrians annex Serbia. Oops, another political comment. Sorry about that. It's so Nicholas II is one sexy bastard with an epic mustache and beard. Of course, as you may expect, I have a facial hair fetish. The Eastern Front isn't talked about a lot, since both the Western Front and Bolshevik Revolution kind of steal the spotlight. And Drew Pickles the Duck is too lazy to look up anything on it currently. So deal with it. Pissing and shitting all over the Eastern Front. Even though there is really no point to do that other than it being swell. Bag. That was grand. After that I will hear a really big commotion further to the east. Obviously this will be the start of the Bolshevik Revolution. Seeing as a bloodbath is on the way, I will clean my gun, if you know what I mean, in anticipation of the next battle. Pretty soon some communists will show up, intending to spread communist propaganda to the soldiers, so they can get more recruits to overthrow the Tsar. But they will notice that all of the Russian soldiers have been fucked by yours truly. Seeing the communists will get me really pissed off. Not because I'm an American, or have American anti-communist ideals, but rather because I'm a homosexual, and also a Quaker, and the communists persecuted homosexuals and the religious. So I will take out my anger on the commie swine like I'm sure the United States will thank me for this anyway in spite of my faggotry. Drew Pickles the Duck is not going in to detail about the revolution, maybe in another video, but not this one. Rhyme somehow magically changing the communist propaganda to be propaganda about homosexuality, which will spread throughout the East and fuel the gay poopy faggot revolution. It will also result in fully automated luxury gay space communism, which will be super duper swell. Bag. That was grand. After that I will go to the unrestricted submarine warfare. How is this possible? Who the fuck knows? Anyway, I will head to one of the U-boats and get inside and see a bunch of Germans yelling and shit like that. They will be firing torpedoes at various merchant ships to try and cut off British shipping to counter the British blockade. Seeing the torpedoes crashing into ships will vaguely remind me of an erect cock going into a virgin male ass. Of course this will make me super fucking horny, and I will proceed to whip out my cock and masturbate like and then some Germans will see me and shout something in German I can't understand. I will tell them that I can't understand their German gibberish, and then one of the officers, who surprisingly speaks English, will ask me what the fuck I'm doing. I will respond I'm having a swell masturbation session, since the torpedoes going in to ships will remind me of a cock going into a virgin male ass, and he will get a disgusted look and order some of the crew to throw me out of the U-boat, which honestly doesn't make sense considering we are underwater at the moment, but I digress. Two sexy German officers will grab me, and then suddenly the U-boat will begin to shake and move all over the place. Although the crew will be freaking out, I will remain quiet, stroking my cock as I watch. The U-boat will emerge from the water and the crew will see what is fucking the boat over, which is surprisingly not yours truly. The crew will see a giant sea monster has rammed the ship and is trying to kill it. In case you are wondering, this did allegedly happen to the U-boat U-28, but anyway, the sea monster will get a pissed off look. Instead of time wasting dialogue, I will just fuck the sea monster like this is a really random thing to throw in a World War I video. The sea monster is trying to bite off my cock, but it isn't doing a very good job. Bag. That was grand. All of the U-boat officers will thank me, and I will just fuck them all like did you really think you could escape my ass raping like that? Bag. That was grand. After that I will swim to some of the ships making up the Royal Navy's blockade. The British sailors will see me in the water and think I'm drowning, so they will throw me one of those life ring things. Little do they suspect, this is all a part of my poopy plan. The British sailors will ask if I'm okay, and I will say yes, I'm doing quite homosexually swell. They will look at each other with confused and disgusted looks before taking me to the captain. The captain will ask me who the fuck I am, and what the fuck I'm doing. I will tell him hello, my name is the Quaker Queer, the gayest man in the world until Drew Pickles is born many years from now, and that I escaped a German U-boat. Seeing as it's the early 1900s, he will think I mean that I'm the happiest man in the world and reply, well alright, why don't you? You didn't see that coming, bag. That was grand. After that I will head to the Western Front, more specifically the trenches in France. There will be a whole bunch of Entente troops, mostly French and British, though there will be some Americans who just arrived recently. Seeing them lined up in the trench will remind me of a very long line, so I will go to fuck them when suddenly there will be a German offensive. Seeing as I'm from America, it is my civic duty to help the American troops, so I will whip out my cock and begin to mow down the German troops charging the French trenches with my swelges like all of the German troops are turning gay. Bag. That was grand. The Entente troops will look at me in shock and disgust, though they will thank me for stopping the German offensive. Not being able to hold back my horniness, I will just fuck the Entente troops like Drew. Because the Dark's great grandfather was in a French trench during World War I. And while he didn't die in the war, he died early a few decades later thanks to circulatory issues from the mud in the trenches. Since unlike the German trenches, the French trenches were hastily made and absolute shit. Bag. That was grand. Suddenly there will be a massive German artillery barrage, and one of the shells will hit me and blow up, blowing off my cock in the process. Seeing a second wave of German troops rushing the trench, and now unarmed thanks to my cock being blown off, I will grab the nearest wooden phallic shaped object and attach it to my crotch, then proceed to smackety smack the German troops with my wooden cock like smack bag. That was grand. Pretty soon the Entente troops will decide to go on the offensive. I will join into this and run up to the German trenches before deciding to take part in some chemical warfare by ripping a massive fart. The German trenches will be flooded by my swell fart gas and they will all gag and vomit everywhere. Be thankful it's not chlorine or mustard gas. However, I will notice all of the French, British and American troops will also have been affected as well, and they too will vomit everywhere. Seeing all of the sexy men vomiting will make me super fucking horny, and we will have massive fucking orgy, even though it's really just me fucking them all like using the newly invented tanks as dildos like my giant wooden cock has grown in length and shot up in the air and the Red Baron just smashed into it and crashed into the ground. This song is sort of unfitting for such a horrific place, to be honest. But it was a British World War I song. Bag. That was grand. All of a sudden Raymond Poincar, David Lloyd George, Tsar Nicholas II, Victor Emmanuel III, Woodrow Wilson, Emperor Tasso, Kaiser Wilhelm II, Mem V Franz Joseph I, Tsar Ferdinand I, and the rest of the leaders Drew Pickles the Dark forgets will all step out of their offices and yell, "What the fuck is going on out here?" I will say, "Hello my fine chaps, my name is the Quaker Queer, and I'm making the Great War much more swell." They will become extremely pissed off I turned all their armies gay, and I won't care, and just fuck them all like is this video in bad taste? Well, World War I was over 100 years ago, so Drew Pickles the Dark thinks it's fine. Actually that's a pretty good rule of thumb. All historical event Quaker Queer videos must take place over a century ago. Bag. That was grand. Bag. That sounds shit eating, piss drinking, boner bursting, shell shocking, testicle tickling, pissing, shitting, and coming in oatmeal grand. I think I will go to the Great War right now. See you later my fine chaps.